Hello friends, and welcome to the video. So today I wanted to talk about the two truths that we find in Advaita Vedanta and also in Buddhism. So the relative truth, this transactional reality that we live in every day, and the ultimate truth that, certainly in Advaita Vedanta, that only Brahman is real, the world is, mithyā. It's neither real, completely real, or unreal, because you see it, of course. And you are nothing other than Brahman, or you are the same as Brahman. There's no difference. You are the ultimate reality. Now, I go to the gym a lot. I eat quite a lot of protein. And when I was with my dad at Christmas, it seems like he lives off cake and whiskey. And I was trying to get him to eat more protein. He was saying he wasn't hungry, and then he'd sneak off and eat a cake and drink some whiskey. And I was getting exasperated, and thankfully he hasn't seen any of my direct path videos, or he would just be able to say, well, that's just a thought, that's just a thought, and that's just a thought. Or that's kind of Angelo DeLulo, but yes, or in the direct path, that's just an arising, that's just an arising, that's just arising. I'm beyond all that. I am, untouched by all that. But no, things work really well in science, and we live in this transactional reality. You could even say, well, what's the point in the ultimate reality then? Well, what it is that we have mapped out reality very well to be able to find our way around and not get lost and not fall off cliffs or die because you don't have enough protein and you're getting on and you fall and break a hip and lose your independence. This is important. You have to be nice to people. You can't just use spirituality for bypassing, hiding from reality. It doesn't touch me. But what we shouldn't mistake is we shouldn't try to take the map out of the territory. The territory out of the map. This is what Bernardo Kastrup says. We've built a great map, but that's a map, and it's not the reality. What the reality is, if we explore it directly in our direct experience, is everything is dependent on consciousness. Consciousness isn't dependent on the objective world. Consciousness is prior to the objective world. You are life itself. You do not share the limitations of the brain or of the world. You are that which the world, the brain, and everything, all these ideas, arise in. Of course, you don't die. No, I won't go into that too much. But it's when we start building this narrative about the separate self, and we forget what's really here, then we live a miserable life. I don't know if you could say, I'm not living a miserable life, James, and I just live in reality. I used to, before I discovered all this, I used to kind of move myself around like a puppet in the world. In a conceptual world that I had the past and the future and what I should have done and what I failed to do, and the future and what I will never be able to do, and other people and all of this. And when I discovered this non-duality, I discovered this here, and suddenly all of that is so much less important than this, because this is really what we're here for. This is what we are. All of that, all these ideas and these concepts are less real than life itself. And when people used to ask Jean Klein about death, do you survive death? Does consciousness continue after death? He would say, first, find out what life is. And then the question of death disappears. And this is it. Life is not something that can be described by a concept or definition, biological definition. Life is this. This is it. This is, and when you see that this is what life is, that it is not, it is what everything arises in, then there is no question of death. There's no question of vulnerability, separation. This isn't to say that you should avoid reality, as I'm going back to again. Somebody recently put in one of the comments on one of the videos that about Jean Klein, about fear. So you observe fear and you let it be there, just as a scientist would observe, do a scientific experiment. You accept what's there and you see it, and you see that you've got lots of concepts about it, and then you say, well, so I'll look at what the actual feeling is, and in this way it dissolves. And the person said, well, what if I do this about the guilt I have and the shame for not studying? Will it all disappear and make me procrastinate? And I said, firstly, look, I'm an English teacher. You have to study. There's no shortcut. You can't manifest good grades. But what you don't do is build this story that you're a terrible person for that you're building this conceptual model that's a horrible, ugly person that's not doing well. But the guilt that you're not studying, it's there. It's a signal. Don't run away from it. Don't hide it. Don't try to dissolve it. It's there, and accept it for what it is as a signal. This is not about trying to avoid life, trying to run away from life. It's about really, when you don't have the narrative, you don't have the story that you impose on reality, you see these things, all these emotions, all these things still arise, but they are messages, they are signals, they're something which you should not run away from. You should take them as they are. Maybe don't make judgments about them, and respond. Act in response to that, rather than in a defensive response from this idea of separate self, which is going to be worse, and so you have to hide from your responsibilities and things like that. So in this way, this understanding of the ultimate truth, finding out what you really are, which is what this channel is about, Advaita Vedanta, Nisargadatta Maharaj, what am I? Or I am that, he says, sorry, but Ramana Maharshi, find out what you are. This is really the access to life, rather than living in a conceptual model. And for this, we have the two truths, so that we can not just think, well, I am free from everything, I should not behave. So we have this idea of the true truth, but really it's just one truth. There is only one truth. And by acting in that, we respond naturally and well, rather than defensively and from fear. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.